Fighting the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Whistleblower Central, the NutriMedical Report, and if you have questions, we need your support through prayer, through donations, through purchasing products, and through getting our show on your local radio stations. Now that Genesis has the program now free, the archives are free, the podcasts, the on-demand, we need to get your local radio station broadcasting, because the most important and powerful tool is to get this in front of your numbskull neighbors that don't have any preparations for food shortages, don't know that this is going on, and think that everything is just fine. Whether you're an American, Canadian, Brit, an Aussie, a person in India that's floating along, so busy with your daily life you don't realize they're getting ready for the hard kill once they get their global matrix in place. So please continue.
Yes, I'm trying not to lament about personal matters. I'm trying to...
well, connect the dots. Yeah, the key. Yeah, we're going to have many more shows. Yeah.
For your listeners, how it affects everybody's money worldwide.
Right.
That said, the feds have an interest in all estates and trusts.
Right.
As I was looking into my family's interests, I said, if they do this to kin, what do they do to strangers? So I started reviewing all estates these people had closed. And it opened up a huge can of worms. Now, everything is overseen by state and federal authorities. I mean, these are done through the courts.
Right, so in other words, when Madoff did his thing, there's no way...
Yeah, well, no, I'll get to Madoff in a minute. Let's just sort of would you just sort of let me roll for a minute?
Oh, sure. Yep.
Yeah, because if we hit Madoff too soon, we'll lose the folks.
Right.
Anyway, that said, whistleblowers are entitled under Title 26 to whistleblower protection. Title 26 has to do with the IRS. Now, there's a form called Form 211 that 99.9% of all IRS employees do not know of its existence, and I could have an hour-long show with just me and the IRS getting a Form 211. However, by January of 2002, I managed to force a meeting on the 10th floor of the JFK building in downtown Boston. Now, I swear it should be on the tourist maps. Everybody who's in Boston should ride the elevator up to the 10th floor just to have a look around. It's a hoot. And the 11th floor. But that said, I had confidential meetings with the IRS. I would not tell them a thing or give them my evidence until they produced a Form 211. They fluffed it. But by then I had another Form 211 and filed it correctly and forced their hand. Now, how I managed to get... Have you ever tried to corner a secret agent for the Treasury Department? It's a chore. But how I managed to do it was by promising to give it to the FBI, and one Fed hates the other, right? So as soon as I was going to give it to the FBI, they wanted to meet me. So as soon as they didn't want me to tell the FBI, of course I went across the street to Causeway Street and told the FBI too. But I gave the FBI something else the IRS would not be interested in, and that is their own wiretap tapes of the mob. Now, this was all early 2002.
So you had wiretap tapes of the mob doing what?
Running numbers, fixing horse racing, plotting murder in Boston.
Right.
But let's just stick to the money.
Right.
Okay? Nobody much cares about dead mobsters or me.
Right.
But that said, the money, if the IRS... they have interest in all estates and trusts, and they were the first ones lied to in order for these estates to be closed and the money to be laundered. Because they lost their tax money. They lost their interest. So by way of filing these whistleblower forms and having their signatures acknowledging what I'd given them, I felt myself somewhat safe. I was very wrong.
Yeah.
Immediately, early 2002, in January, and again in April, I had to take my young children out of school and take them to Canada because feds in the Treasury Department were calling me a mad bomber, etc.
So they were trying to accuse you now that you were putting the position, because you would actually put the finger back on them to say that they were actually closing the states.
I was demanding that they act within the scope of their employment.
Right. So what happened is that they went after you.
Okay. They find their money, they'll find my wife's, and I won't have to do a tap. It was a good plan, but I was dealing with a lot of crooks. Now, at the time, I thought I was dealing with just local crooks to Boston, because the fellow that was doing it was my wife's uncle, and he's ex-FBI, and the lawyer that was doing it sat on the board of governors of Harvard Law School when even your Inspector General of Justice, Glenn Pine, graduated.
Right.
So I figured it was a localized problem. So, me being a Canadian, and having know a great deal of people up here, I had the RCMP witness an affidavit of mine, and I charged right back down to the States. Now, you cannot sue a federal agent as a person until you give him 6 months to act within the scope of his employment after you have his signature. Now, for the 6-month time frame, it was all kinds of false allegations flying around about me hell west and crooked, so they could lock me up and shut me up. And when the bell tolled 6 months, I sued everybody and his dog because I had their signatures, and I had the evidence, and I attached their signatures and the evidence to the complaints, and now it's a matter of arguing the obvious. So anyway, all that said, the legal hoopla began, but by September of 2002, the light dawned on my marble head why they were acting so poorly.
Yeah, in other words, you got into a harness.
The Oval Office.
Right. Right.
Because we live in Milton, Massachusetts, the same town where George H.W. Bush was born.
Oh, yes, okay.
And unbeknownst to me, it appears that I've blown the whistle where a lot of his buddies wash money through, too.
Okay, so you basically by chance happened to just intervene into the same laundering situation.
Yes.
And as a result, you opened up a much bigger can of worms than you'd expected.
A dumb maritimer tripped over a can of worms.
Yeah.
That said, I realized I went to see the FBI because within the U.S. Attorney's ex parte memorandum of law, he lamented about what a jerk I was with the FBI. And I was suing about money. So how could I not go see the FBI one more time? As you can tell, I'm not a shy man, and I can tell you some interesting stories about me and the FBI.
Right, go ahead.
But anyway, I went to see the FBI on October the 15th, 2002. I left a man outside the building on Causeway Street in a bar with a cell phone. And he was to call friends if I didn't come out of that building. And I don't know if you've been to see the FBI, how they take you into an ante room and they check to make sure you don't have any weapons.
Oh, yeah, all that stuff.
Anything you give them, they send downstairs to be sniffed for anthrax. The FBI is only worried about the FBI. Anyway, this woman, and it's some hard job to get an FBI agent's name, and she wouldn't give me her name, but she told me she didn't care about my stuff. They were too busy going to war with Iraq. I thought she was joking. At the time, in 2002, the Americans were being investigated for bombing a company of Canadian boys and killing 4 of them. Friendly fire, so to speak.
Yeah,
and I had a nephew, I believe, over in Afghanistan at the time.
Right.
That said, I thought they were joking. And I'm so busy with my own stuff, I don't watch TV. Most of my time is spent reading and writing and arguing with lawyers. And I thought she was joking. But the next day, I proved tax fraud in a probate court while suing the feds for $3.75 billion in federal court. When you do that, your life's not worth 10 cents. I got out of the country. But before leaving the country,
in other words, you won, and that put a mark on your head.
One of the fellows I served, because you understand this was the fall of 2002, and there was a midterm election.
Right.
Robert Reich, who's now an economic advisor for Mr. Obama, was running for governor. He was former Secretary of State. I served him. I served John Kerry as he was running for his Senate seat. He's our senator along with Ted Kennedy.
Right.
I served any number of people, irrefutable evidence of the truth, including, you name it, the who's who. Got out of Dodge. I'm hiding in Canada, dog, guns, in the woods, and on CBC, The Prime Minister Canada's over Prague, just like they are now.
Keep that thought. We'll be right back.
Are you one of the millions of sinus and allergy sufferers? Is your nose stuffed up? Do you experience sinus headache?
Thank you. Here endeth the lesson.